Esto está muy bueno, está contento y están pasando muchas cosas buenas, pero ¿sabe qué? Yo creo que está todo el mundo ya esperando esa entrevista del día de hoy, Palillito.
Señores, si usted no sabe quién es la persona que vamos a estar entrevistando hoy, pues mire, aquí tiene un la.
And a drive deep, way back in right center. This ball is off the wall on one hop. A double for Yount, and in to score comes Gantner. He hit it deep into right center field.
In the air to right. Dwyer to the corner. To the wall. Home run for Robin Yount, lifted to the off field. And the Brewers break on top. And that is a very important factor to consider.
Usually on the mound to try to save one for the A's and Dave Stewart. Fly ball, deep right field. Howard's going back. Has he got room? He has not. It's gone.
Bueno, señores, y aquí lo tenemos. Le damos la bienvenida a Me Gustan los Deportes junto a Baerga y sus amigos a un Hall of Famer, Mr. Robin Yount. Welcome o bienvenido, because you have to know something in Spanish.
I know I heard Robin Yount. You know what else I know?
Yes.
Let me tell you this, and hello to everybody in Puerto Rico. It's so nice to be back. This is what else I know in Spanish. When I played for the Santurce Cangrejeros, and please forgive me right now for my Spanish accent.
No,
you said it right.
What I remember, and I know Spanish because you're going to hear it here in just a second. I remember when they would introduce me to go out onto the field, the announcer at the stadium would say, "En la campo corto, número 26, Robin Yount."
That was great.
That's perfect, bro. Oh my God.
Baerga,
Wow.
I mean, we're talking.
I do know some Spanish. I just proved it.
We're talking about
Perfect.
somebody that played so many years in the big league. He's been up there in the Hall of Fame doing a speech. Baerga, I still remember how the guy in Puerto Rico announcing when he goes to play Campo Corto, número 26.
Yeah, 26. I was number 26 when I played
26.
there. And I was perfectly happy to have it. But to this day, I can still hear the announcer say it. En la campo corto, número 26, Robin Yount.
Wow, this is where we start the show. With Robin Yount speaking Spanish, getting the announcer going.
Yeah.
Robin, what an honor I have to have us, to have you today with us in our program. I still remember like it was today when you got the 3,000 hit. It was a land drive over my head in second base against the Cleveland Indians. Albert Bell catch the ball over there. Barry Ramirez catch the ball and throw it back to the field, and I was something special. I'll never forget about that. You know why? Because Candy Maldonado, the best advice that he gave me was when I came up to the big leagues, when you see Robin Yount and Paul Molitor, make sure that you go outside, watch them, how they hit, how they feel, how they prepare for the game. And that day, I had the opportunity to watch you get 3,000 hits. And today, we have you here in Me Gustan los Deportes. What an honor to have you, man.
Well, Carlos, you're very nice. You're very nice. I got to know you even a little better when you came over to the Diamondbacks. I did a little bit of coaching, and I was a coach at the Diamondbacks. And you came over, and we were teammates for just a short time.
Yes.
But I really enjoyed our time together. But thank you for those nice words.
That's what you say. Wow, right? We're getting old.
Yeah. I know I'm getting old. Carlos isn't as old as me, but I know I'm getting old.
No. Robin, let's start this, man. Where Robin Yount born?
Where was I born?
Yes.
I was born in the Midwest. I was born. It's a long story, actually, Carlos. Do we have a couple hours?
Yeah.
Anyhow, I was born in a town called Danville, Illinois. It's not too far from Chicago. But our home was in a town called Covington, Indiana. It was a very small farm town, but the nearest hospital was in Danville, Illinois. But before I was 9 months old, my father, who worked in aerospace, he was a chemical engineer. He got a job out in California when I was 9 months old. So I was born in the Midwest, but moved to California when I was 9 months old. So basically, I grew up in Los Angeles, Southern California.
Well, I mean, we know growing up in California is pretty much kind of like growing up in Florida, in places that you're going to be able to play sports all year round. You're going to be able to play outdoor sports. Was baseball your first sport when you were growing up, or you were one of those that play or every little sport that you could find?
Yeah, I played them all. In those days, it seemed fairly common to play whatever sport was in season. So I played football. I played baseball. I never really, I had a basketball hoop on our garage, and we shot baskets and played one-on-one and pickup games around the neighborhood. But it's the only sport of the three major ones: baseball, football, and basketball. Basketball is the only one that I didn't play organized. And it's funny, though, I had this crazy little bug in me when I was 12 years old. I was, a friend of mine had a mini bike, like a little motorcycle. And I used to love to ride my friend's mini bike. Well, my mother bought my father this little trail motorcycle. I was only 12 years old. But I developed a love affair with motorcycles at a very young age. And to this day, I still have a passion for motorcycles. I was racing motorcycles, which a lot of people weren't too crazy about back in those days when I was trying to figure out what it was I wanted to be in life. A lot of people thought I might have a chance of being a professional baseball player. I had a brother that played professional baseball, 5 years older than me. And a lot of people wanted me to follow in his footsteps. But honestly, when I was only 13, 14, 15 years old, I wanted to be a motocross racer. And certainly, I was very fortunate that, I never got hurt bad enough that it ever affected my baseball career. But and like I said earlier, to this day, I have an incredible passion for motorcycles too. But I was not as good a motocross racer as I was a baseball player.
No, but I mean, but hearing that, I mean, then you already know why he was so athletic when he made it up there. Everybody was thinking, he'd be able to play a few positions, and he did it well. Now we know why.
Well, one thing I forgot to mention too, as a youngster, I also played golf. I played in junior golf tournaments in the summertime. So I played golf and baseball and football and raced motorcycles. Basically, those were my sports that I really enjoyed as a youngster.
Robin, when you was growing up, there was a player. I know you watch baseball. There was a player in the big leagues that you really say, well, I would like to be that player. I like this guy right here, the way he played. There was somebody?
Well, Carlos, there was more than one. So early on, I grew up in Los Angeles. I had a lot of neighborhood kids that were enemies of mine because I liked the San Francisco Giants. Growing up in LA, that's not very good. I had to defend myself more times than I like to admit.
Wow.
Because I was a Giants fan. So in saying that, the guys I really liked were like the Willie Mays and the Willie McCoveys and the Juan Marichal. And then as I got a little bit older, I think you'll remember this player, Carlos, but the Giants had a shortstop named Chris Spire.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And Chris Spire,
great player.
Back in those days, most of the time shortstops were really good fielders, but not too many of them could hit very well. But Chris Spire came along And when Chris Beyer came up, he had a lot of offense to offer, along with being a good defensive player. And that's why I was a Chris Beyer fan, because this guy could hit too. I didn't want to just be a fielding shortstop. I want to hit, you know?
Wow, wow.
And that brings up a whole nother story. I don't know if you want me to go back to when I first made the team.
No, easy. We'll get there.
No,
easy.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there.
I'll tell you what, you guys got the wheels turning already.
Yeah. And it's nice that you mentioned Chris Beyer, because I played with his son in Puerto Rico, in Ponce, Justin Beyer, a pitcher. He pitched in Puerto Rico with Ponce. So it's nice that you mentioned him. And it was true. Chris Beyer was kind of like a little like Robbie Thompson too, that came along later on. It was guys with power, shortstop, but they had some power. They weren't too tall, but they had some power. But you went to a school, I think it was Taft High School in Woodland, California. I think in Woodland Hills, and there was Larry Durkee came out of there. Gay Kapler, the manager for the Giants, came out of there. Your brother Larry Yount, and you came out of there. I mean,
and another guy named Pete Lecoq, if you remember.
Pete Lecoq and Rick Auerbach.
Rick Auerbach. There you go. Pete Lecoq. And then there was another guy made it to the big leagues, Kelly Paris, played for the White Sox.
You see, I mean, we got you covered.
Taft High School produced a lot of major leaguers.
So I mean, when you start playing there, I mean, you were one of the you could hang out with the kids. You were as good as them. You were over them, or you could tell you were, I got some talent here, a little special than everybody else around me right now.
Well, to be honest with you, I had a little bit of an advantage over most kids. And that being, I had an older brother, 5 years older, that was legitimately, he should have been a major league pitcher. Unfortunately, he got called up, a September call up with the Houston Astros. Wow. And he got called out of the bullpen to pitch in his first major league game. He would always go to major league spring training, but he hadn't made the team yet. But they called him up. He was having a good year, called him up. They called him out of the bullpen to come into a game. And, you get your 6 warm-up pitches or however many it is. Mm-hmm. And he throws about 5 pitches. He's got 2 more. He says curveball. He throws a warm-up curveball and something in his elbow pops.
Oh,
wow.
So he gets the ball back to try to throw one. This is his chance, his major league debut. He gets the ball back from the catcher to try to throw one more warm-up pitch and can't even reach home plate. Wow. Well, he never got back to the major leagues. The point I'm trying to make is, though, he was that good of a pitcher. Well, me as a youngster in basically high school age, in the wintertime, in the off season, when he would work out, he would throw batting practice to me. Okay. And so I would face my brother, who was a AAA pitcher at the time.
Yeah.
He would throw to me when I'm a high schooler.
Wow.
And I was getting an opportunity in high school to face pretty good professional pitching. So I had a pretty good idea what it was going to be like before. And I must say, my brother's not around and he can't hear me. So I can say this. When I was in high school, I could hit my brother. And he's not here to hear that. If he was here, I wouldn't say that.
So that means he was trying to strike you out all the time.
On the other side of the camera, I would be saying, "Oh, I was so overmatched. I couldn't handle him." But he's not here, so I can say, "Yeah, I could hit my brother back then."
That's good. That's good to hear. That's good.
The point I'm trying to make is I got a little bit of a head start on that a lot of high school kids never would have that opportunity to see that kind of pitching that early on.
Wow, that was awesome. So in 1973, the Milwaukee Brewers pick you up the 3rd pick overall.
Right.
When they pick, they take you in that time. What went through your mind right away?
You know what, Carlos? I knew I was going to be drafted. There were scouts at all our games, and previous years, those people we just mentioned a lot of them were ahead of me. We had seen players get drafted out of our high school, so it wasn't that unusual. I had no idea I was going to go as high in the draft as I did, but I knew I was going to get drafted. So that really wasn't a surprise. But what was a surprise was that I got invited to Major League spring training that next year.
Wow.
Yeah. So I signed with the Brewers that summer. You know, the draft is in June.
Yes.
So I played the short season rookie league in upstate New York, the Brewers rookie league. Then when spring training came around, my very first spring training as a professional, they invited me to the Major League spring training. Well, the reason for that was the Brewers had a kind of a tradition of inviting their number one draft pick the previous year to Major League spring training. And so I was that guy. I had, in my wildest dreams, though, no anticipation that I had any chance of making the team. I didn't expect that. I thought, you know, okay, I get to go and spend a couple of weeks with the big guys, and then they'll send me off to wherever. And you know, if I don't know what your next question is, but if it's along those lines, I can tell you what happened in spring training.
I mean, no, because I mean, hearing you, it's kind of you are taking me back to Dave Winfield. The only thing is you were way too younger than Dave Winfield. Since he went to college, because Winfield was always the best pitcher in college and all that. And he got drafted, and all of a sudden he never played a game as an outfielder. And they told him, you know, you're the first round pick for the San Diego Padres. You're gonna be our outfielder. I never play a game in the minor leagues. So with you, it's like 17-year-old, you go to Newark. Baerga, you know who was his manager there?
Who?
Matt Galante. Remember Matt Galante?
Matt Galante, yeah.
He plays in Puerto Rico with Santurce.
Yeah.
He was at Santurce later.
Yeah. So Matt Galante was there. You're 17. You go to spring training when you're 18 too, in 1974. I mean, you're 18 years old. And I remember when I was with Baerga in the Indians, the minor league, going up, we were just, you're going to play a game and just have fun. If they need you, you'll be all right or whatever. So you're going because you think, I'm a first round pick. They're going to bring me here. But okay, I can't wait to see where I'm going to go at. I mean, how you felt when you are told, you got a good chance. Not just that you made the team, just that you have a good chance of making this thing. Or nobody ever told you that?
No, they never told me that. I was that guy that was filling in the seventh inning, playing the last 3 innings for the starting shortstop for the first 3 weeks of spring training. And a couple of times I made a decent play in the field and I might have got a hit. And so we're about 3 weeks into spring training and I come into the clubhouse to, get ready to start the next day. And I see the lineup and I'm starting the game. And it's like, oh, well, Tim Johnson was the shortstop, the starting shortstop when I came. So I figured Tim must need a day off and maybe he's a little hurt. And so they're going to let me start this game because Timmy must not be able to play today. So I start and then, and then the next day it was back to the same thing. And, picking Timmy up in the 7th inning, 8th inning. Well, fast forward a little bit, I start getting a couple more starts. And it's like, well, I don't know what's going on, but this is fun. So what I wanted to say, that when I was finally told that I was going to make the team, I can remember it like it happened yesterday. We were getting on the bus because at that time we trained on one side of Phoenix, and that day we were playing on the other side of Phoenix. So we were getting on that bus to ride across town to play whoever it was that day. And the manager, and our manager at that time was a man named Del Crandall. God rest his soul. He just passed away not too long ago. But Dell was always the last guy to get on the bus. So I get on the bus, and when I get on the bus, the manager always sits in the first seat.
Yeah.
And I look, and Dell's Crandall is already sitting in the first seat. So now I'm scared because I think I'm late. I go, gosh, dang, I can't be late. I got to be the first one on the bus. I'm a 18-year-old punk that shouldn't even be here. But Del Crandall says, son, sit down next to me. Now I go,
Oh, man.
like you thinking, okay, he's going to tell me, hey, kid, you did a nice job this spring. We're sending you to Iowa to play A-ball. And that's what I'm expecting. So I sit down next to him, and I got to say I'm a little intimidated, but I'm expecting him to tell me where I'm going. And he tells me, son, and there's about a week to go in spring training. He says, I just want to let you know something. Yes, sir. You're my opening day shortstop.
Oh, wow.
Okay, my heart almost stopped. And it's like, wow. I'm thinking this is really cool. But let me keep going with this story. And it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Remember how I was talking about how much I like Chris Spire?
Yeah,
I like guys that can hit, right? And play defense too, because you need to be a good defender at shortstop.
Mm.
But I always knew I could hit, right? So Del Crandall tells me when I'm sitting next to him on the bus that he says, now listen, son, we just want you to catch the ball. We know you can make all the plays. Don't worry about your hitting. If you hit, fine. If you don't, I don't want you to worry about it. Your hitting will come. What he didn't know is in my mind, I'm thinking, Skipper, I know I can hit. I'm not so sure I can play defense.
Come on, man. I faced Larry Yount for so many years. I'm ready to go, man.
I'm telling you, I can hit in the big leagues right now. But please don't make me catch everything. Because if I caught it, then usually I threw it about 10 rows up in the stands.
Baerga, wait.
I caught.
Baerga,
So
that's a big story, Robin, because I mean, like Baerga, no, we always, I mean, I always thought, seriously, man, just until you said it now, I always thought that your glove was always better than your hitting. I mean, at that time, you're 18 years old, Baerga. Baerga, you imagine you were 18 years old. Where were you at 18 years old?
Well, I will say, it took me, I was 18 years old. I was 160 pounds. So I didn't have any power, but I still knew one day I could hit. But it was like, and as time went, I learned to hit. I didn't jump into the big leagues a very good hitter. But in my mind, I thought I could hit one day at that level. But I was never sure if I could ever play defense.
Let me see. I think Baerga, I think we're having trouble with your sound. Let's see if we could get, because we can't hear you right now. I mean, we got Robin going here, but I think we got Baerga having a little trouble with the sound. So let's try to see. You still could hear us, don't you, Robin?
I hear you guys fine.
Okay, but yeah, I can't hear Baerga. Baerga can't hear us right now. So Baerga will come out and come back in, and we'll try to set it up here. I mean, we're live, people. We're live. You know how it is. Has happened before. But it's interesting, Robin, that you mentioned that. I mean, because everybody that always talked to me about you, I always thought, definitely he had to be a good fielder, because 18 years old, a half season in the New York Penn League might not be enough for Robin Yount to be the big league unless he's able to field the ball. But you had a guy that year in the big league, Pedro Garcia, Garcia from Puerto Rico, a very good friend of our family that was not a hitter either. He was not a good hitter.
No, but he was a heck of a second baseman. he could catch a ball and he could turn a double play as good as anybody.
So you see, I mean, so now I'm thinking, now that I'm hearing you talking about your story, I'm thinking, okay, so the Brewers all of a sudden in 1974 have an 18-year-old kid, pretty much just a first-round pick, just a few months, we could say, out of high school, mixed with Pedro Garcia in second base. What kind of team they gonna have for the whole year? Because I'm guessing that the fans didn't know what they were getting, but once they thinking, well, we got a kid and a guy can't hit in second base, just could feel this is interesting. Where are we gonna go?
Well, to be honest with you, we didn't go very far. But that brings up a good point. Let me explain a little bit. In those days, a team like the Milwaukee Brewers, we were only about a 4 or 5 year old franchise. We started out as the Seattle Pilots.
Yeah.
Expansion teams didn't progress. They didn't have free agency yet. So you didn't progress fast. Most expansion teams took a lot of years to develop themselves to be competitive. When I came along, the Brewers had no expectations to win anything. We weren't going to compete for anything in those days. So they had the opportunity, if they wanted, to throw an 18-year-old kid out there and see what happens. We weren't expected to go anywhere anyhow. I was the lucky and fortunate one to be that guy that got an opportunity. I'm not going to lie to you. I was not a major league player at that time. I had to learn to become a major league player in the major leagues. So I had a lot of growing pains in my early years. Hey, I was telling you about not being a very good fielder, or at least not believing it. I had to work really hard on my fielding. I led the league in errors in the second year.
Robin,
24 errors in 1975.
Robin, we didn't want to say that, Robin. We don't have to talk about that.
You know why, Carlos? You know why I want to? And by the way, Carlos, welcome back.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I wasn't listening right. I was perfect.
I want to say one thing about you didn't want to say
the errors,
about how bad I was. That's okay, because one of the most rewarding things that I ever accomplished in the major leagues was winning a Gold Glove. Yeah. Now, I won one Gold Glove, but I was, in 1975, the worst shortstop in baseball. And I worked and I worked and I worked. And I worked myself into becoming a good defensive player. Good. That didn't come as naturally as my hitting did. I always had a strong arm. I could throw the ball across the diamond, but half the time I didn't know where it was going. So, you know what? I'm still as proud of that Gold Glove as almost any of the other things I accomplished as far as individual awards or whatever, because that took a lot of work.
Yes. No, that's you have to work hard, to become a great fielder. Especially you have to know, who's hitting, who can run, who can not run. The shortstop is like, for me, the middle, the infield are the leaders in the, in the infield right there, even the outfield too. So that it takes a lot of, out of shortstop, in there. Robin, you first couple of years, you was like 8 homers, 2 homers, 4 homers, 9 homers, stuff like that. But then you start coming up with the powers. In 1980, you come up, 23 homers, 87 RBIs, 293. Now you start making, the All-Star game. When you made that first All-Star game, you can talk to us about it.
Well, let me tell you what really helped me as far as developing physically, because I'm not a big guy. Like I told you, when I signed, I was 160 pounds. I played most of my career at 175. Everybody today is over 200. These guys today are 200, 210 playing shortstop. They're big, strong guys. I was a skinny guy with no power, And if you remember, if we go back to about the same time I started, but a player named Fred Lynn.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Fred Lynn was one of the early players that started lifting weights, because if you go back, like players right before me and right at when I started, they thought baseball players should never touch weights. They thought that weights would make you bulky and stiff, and they didn't think weightlifting was good for the sport of baseball. Well, I saw Fred Lynn. He said he lifted a lot of weights. He had some really good years early on and as a young player. Well, I started lifting weights, Carlos, and that transformed me into, I went from 160 pounds to 175. I became a monster.
you went from Spider-Man to Hulk.
I didn't quite look like Jose Canseco yet, but I was there.
I mean, and this is for the fans. This is when you made the your All-Star game debut against Bob Welch, and I guess it was pretty nice because you did it in his home, Dodger Stadium. But I mean, look at those numbers, man.
Too.
Look at and of course you got that mustache. You have to have the mustache, you know.
I don't remember facing Bob Welch.
Look, you don't remember that?
No, I think I faced Jim Bibby, I think, later.
Yeah. This is your second at bat with against Jim Bibby.
That's what I remember. I didn't remember that.
Look at that, Baerga. He was so excited he forgot the first at bat.
I never got a hit in an All-Star game.
No.
Now you're come on. I thought you guys were going to be nice to me.
I mean, Robbie, now that we're watching this video, I mean, do you always have that batting stance?
Pretty much. You know, it varied a little bit, but let's talk about a batting stance. You know, I'm sure you remember some of you, Joe Rudy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Joe
Oakland
Rudy
A's.
is when I was in high school, who I tried to kind of model myself after. See, nice little can of corn to Winfield. But anyhow, I used to love Joe Rudy and the way he hit. And he had a real close stance and drove the ball into right center a lot. And that's the way I used to watch Joe Rudy. And so I learned to hit like Joe Rudy when I was in high school. And that's where I got that real close stance.
Wow, because Baerga, it looks kind of like, every time I see your videos and all that, it looks like, I don't know, man, kind of like orthodox. I mean, it's not doesn't look comfort at all. And that's why I always tell the kids, I mean, don't worry about it. Whatever makes you feel better, just go ahead and stand there. So, I'll teach you how to hit the ball. I'll teach you how to try to, get to it the right way. But I mean, if you want to be up here, put your hands up there. But watching you, it looks painful in the back.
But you know what? That's a good point. It was painful, but it worked. So the bottom line is, if you watch players today, you tell me if I'm wrong, but don't almost all hitters today look like they're trying to do the same thing? They all stand, not 100%, but a high percentage of players today all kind of stand the same. They look the same. You know what? You got to be an athlete, not a robot.
Yes.
And I think today's hitters, they all look the same. You got to let your athletic ability play the game, not a robot.
Yeah, that's true. Robin, I watch your numbers, and your numbers are unbelievable. Then in 1982, you win the MVP, 29 homers, 114 RBIs, 331. Your average went up, your homers went up, and RBIs went up. You can talk to us about that year?
Well, in all honesty, if you remember 1982, that was our best year in my 20-year career, and still to this day, the best year the Milwaukee Brewers have ever had. Yes. We got one game away from winning the World Series, but the supporting cast, my teammates, that year we had such a good team. If you look at our lineup, in 1982, we had one of the strongest lineups offensively in the history of the game. So offense breeds offense. There was no weakness in our lineup. So, you know, I had Molitor in front of me and Cooper behind me, and Ted Simmons and Gorman Thomas and Ben Ogilvy behind those guys. I'm telling you, there was no weakness. They had to pitch to all of us. And I was just a benefit. I was getting benefited by a lot of the players around me were able to make all of us better players, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, how was that experience in the World Series in 1982? I mean, against the Cardinals, you hit over 400, so I guess the experience was great for you then.
Well, yeah, yes and no. You know, I would trade hitting 400 in the World Series. I would hit. Well, I don't want to say I would be okay with hitting 0, but I would like to have gotten 1 hit. So I would trade 050 for that World Series ring for the 400. And unfortunately, we missed out in the 7th game. We got beat. And as it was still the greatest experience of my 20-year career was playing in that World Series. But also, I'll say this sincerely, it was the biggest disappointment in my 20-year career, the way it ended. You know, it just, I wanted to win a World Series so badly that I haven't gotten over it today.
Yeah, no, I know.
You know, I wasn't fortunate enough to be on a World Series champion.
Baerga, you know how that feels, Baerga.
It happened to me in 1995. You know our team. Robin, you know the kind of team that we have.
When you come that close, it really hurts when you fall short.
Yeah, that's true. It was painful. It was painful. I made the last out too, so I never forget about that. Even when I walk in here in Atlanta, people recognize me and say, "You Carlos Baerga? You was the last out here. You was the last out." So they let me know that. But that was amazing. 1985.
85. Okay.
You moved from shortstop to the outfield.
Oh yeah.
What happened? Why you moved?
I blew my shoulder out. I tore my rotator cuff toward the end of the season in 84. It's funny. It was in Oakland. Reggie Jackson hit a little blooper over my head. You know, a jam. He got jam shot over my head at short that I turned and I went after and I dove for it. And when I dove, I landed wrong.
Wow.
Tore my rotator cuff. And so I had surgery as soon as that season ended, and the surgery didn't go well. So when I came to spring training, I still couldn't throw, but I could still swing the bat okay. You know, it bothered me to get my arm up here to throw a ball over my head. But down here, I could still swing the bat. I lost a little power, because I didn't have the strength in it I used to, but I could still I felt comfortable swinging the bat. So they realized that. So they hid me or tried to hide me in the outfield. And when I first went out there, I thought that was going to be temporary. I said, okay, I'll get my shoulder back and I'll get it right. I'll go back to shortstop. So I got through that year, had another surgery on my shoulder the next year, and then came to spring training and still couldn't throw up to par to be able to play shortstop. And in those days, we just didn't take time off to make things get better. I wanted to play every day.
I know.
I'll figure out how to play without being able to throw. And it's funny. So thinking it was going to be temporary, 9 years after that time, I retired, never got back to shortstop. After 2 years of being out of the game, not playing on a daily basis anymore, my shoulder healed itself And I could throw better today at 65
Yeah.
years old than I could the last 9 years of my career.
I
If I
mean,
would have taken a little time off, which
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't. I'm
Yeah.
not going back saying, oh, I should have taken more time off. I'm just saying
no.
all I needed was more time off and my shoulder would have healed. As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, I can throw so good now, I'm thinking of making a comeback.
I come.
Yeah.
Well,
And I'm going to play
Arizona need you. The
and I'm going to
Diamondbacks
play
need you.
shortstop.
Yeah, play shortstop. Make sure you get on the shortstop. But it's, I mean, now that you were talking about that move from shortstop because of your rotator cuff, it's amazing that you went to center field. I mean, because you would think that center field will be a position that you're going to have to throw, make some weird throws back to the infield. So it'd be a little weird to see you there in the center field. But everything that comes to mind right now, Robin, it's Fernando Tatis Jr. How all of a sudden, they're trying to, baby him with his injury, try to put him in the outfield. I
Yeah.
mean, and now you're talking about that. I mean, for you, how was that transition of going to center field that you had to cover a lot of ground? And how you think this, I mean, what would be the best advice you could give Fernando Tatis?
Well, for me personally, I'll go back a little bit because I didn't go immediately to center field. I started out in left field.
Oh, okay.
And left field, I had never been in the outfield a day in my life. And they said, oh, I'll put him in left field. That won't be any problem. We'll just, the throws.
He's an athlete. He's an athlete.
The shortstop. And well, let me tell you something. I've been in left field for a couple weeks after the season started. And I'm hating every second of it out there because I am not doing very well. I'm running into things that I didn't even know existed.
Wow.
I had lights that never came into play before.
True.
I had every stadium had a different corner down the left field line that you have to learn. All of a sudden, I took 10 steps back and I ran into something called a wall. I didn't know what to do with that. And I'll never forget, we're in Anaheim playing the Angels. And somebody hits me a ball. And I got a lot of family and friends at this game. And I'm in left field. And somebody hits me a routine fly ball. It's right to me. And I think there's a couple guys on and it's late in the game. And this ball goes in the lights. And I can't see it. And it nearly takes my head off. And 2 or 3 runs score. And it was like, oh my gosh, that never would have happened at shortstop, I'm thinking. So we go home and play in Milwaukee. And a guy hits a ball down the left field line. I go running over into the corner in Milwaukee, and it's kind of a funny corner. And I'm getting to the wall about the same time as the ball. And I try to pin the ball against the corner somehow. I put my whole body against the wall so the ball can't get by me. Because it's really a double. I'm just going to stop it, pick it up, throw it in, hold him to a double. Well, let me tell you something. I played that double so quickly into an inside the park home run that I said, I don't ever want to play in the outfield.
Oh, my God. Wow. Wow.
Let me keep going on this story. The next day, at this time, we had traded for one of your old teammates, Carlos. I think he might have left before you got there. But Rick Manning.
Rick Manning. Whoa.
Rick Manning. He might have been traded to us before you came up.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so Rick Manning was our center fielder, Gold Glove center fielder.
Yes.
Really good player. Really good player.
Yeah.
So he and I were. There's a high fly ball right to the wall on the warning track, but an easy ball for either one of us to catch. We're both standing under it, and I don't remember who caught it or whatever, but all I know is we're standing right next to each other, and I step with my cleat right on his big toe, and I stomp down on it, and I break his big toe.
Oh, my God. Wow,
so Rick Manning has to go on the disabled list. Well, that sounds sad. But let me tell you, it's the greatest thing that ever happened to me. Rick Manning had to go on the disabled list, which gave me the opportunity
To play
go
center
from left
field.
field
Wow.
to center field while he was on the disabled list.
Oh,
Look at
So
that.
I'm playing center field. Now, center field, obviously, there's more ground to cover. But out there was a lot less tricks. You know, you rarely you didn't have corners to mess with. The lights rarely came into play in center field.
Yeah.
So if you had the speed to cover the ground, I had legs. I just didn't have an arm. So I was able to cover the ground, and I got to the point where I was doing way better in center field than I was in left field. So Rick Manning is about to come off the disabled list, and I go to Rick, just me and him. I said, we called him Archie at the time. I said,
Archie, yeah.
I said, hey, Archie, any chance when you come off the DL, you'd maybe play left field? And I'm saying this to a Gold Glove center fielder.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. I was somewhat joking because I didn't expect him to say, "Oh yeah," and I thought he was going to think I was joking too. And he goes, "No, I'll play left field. I don't care. I'll play wherever you want me to play." And that was the attitude Rick Manning had. And it was really Rick Manning. If he would have said, "No, I'm a center fielder, Gold Glove center fielder, and I'm going to play," they would have moved me out again.
But I remember Robin, he didn't want to get hurt again. So he was like, "You want to play center, go. As long as you don't close to me, go."
He still had to play next to me. So I don't think he ever trusted me again.
Wow.
But it was really Rick Manning being a team player. You know what I mean? Just being a great teammate, saying, "Yes, I would be happy to play left field if you're more comfortable." So then we went to the manager, and he was good with it. So that's how I ended up in center field.
Wow.
That was amazing. That was amazing. But you know what? In '89, you win another MVP. There was just two players at that time that win MVP in two different positions. Hank Greenberg and Stan Musial was the only two players to do it at that time. In '89, you win the MVP, 318, 20 homers, 103 RBIs, and to playing center field, you did the job, that everybody want you to do, and you became an MVP. And then Alex Rodriguez did it, but he did it later on when he played shortstop or he played third base. So not too many people had the opportunity to play two different positions and make it like that. How big that was for you?
Well, and actually in those days, it was only two. Alex did it as an infielder, two different.
Yes.
I think there are only two guys even today, or maybe two or three, ever did it in the infield and the outfield. Alex did it at third and short.
Very short, yeah.
It made me. It was a wonderful tribute. But you know what, you don't win MVPs without having great teammates. You've got to have good players around you to have good years yourself. And so it's like, without, is this so dark in here?
No, you're okay. You're good.
Well,
you're good.
But
it seems like it's getting dark, and where I'm at. And the lights are on. I can turn the lights on.
Put the light on. Put the light on. Put it on.
Then you're gonna see my face, and I'm at.
There we go.
No.
You're gonna be high definition later.
Hold on, let me go turn the light on.
Yeah.
Guys, estamos aquí con Robin Yount, por si acaso, señores, va a prender la luz un momentito, pero definitivo, Baerga, ¿verdad? Algo interesante. I mean, one of the best players that we've seen in baseball, and of course, telling the story about shortstop and playing the outfield. That's good. That's good, my man.
You gotta look at
hey,
I'm gonna go back and turn the lights off.
No. Leave it like that. Now you hate the high definition. Don't worry about that. I mean, but going back, Baerga was talking 89. But you know that in Puerto Rico, Robin, of course, we remember because a lot of fans remember you when you went and played in Puerto Rico. Pero before that, you did something that a Puerto Rican, was elevated that night, and it was Juanchi Nieves, no hitter, and a lot of people, Robin was saying, I don't think Robin needed to jump for that ball or dive. Now that I got you tell me, Robin.
let me tell my side of the story on this. Because I've heard that a lot of times. And Carlos, you think about it.
Yeah.
You're playing in the field, and especially the outfield, let's say.
Yeah.
And you have one out to get for a no-hitter. And fortunately, the game was one-sided. We could take chances. You know, if you dove for a ball and it went to the fence and you gave up a triple that should have been a single, it wasn't going to matter. So ahead of time, you know, you can do whatever you can to catch this ball. So I'm telling myself before this ball is hit, I got to catch this ball. I'm saying to myself, this ball cannot hit the ground. This ball will not hit the ground. And so I see Eddie Murray was the hitter. And Eddie slices this ball right-handed into right center. And when that ball leaves the bat, I'm like, already ran it through my mind. That ball will not hit the ground. I can't let it hit the ground. And I'm telling you, I ran faster than I've ever run in my entire life. And I got to that ball sooner than I thought I was. Because I wasn't sure I was even going to get to it when they hit it.
Well, now we got the story, Baerga. We got the story, Baerga.
The bottom line is I caught the ball, and Juan Nieves from Puerto Rico pitched a no-hitter.
There you go. There you go.
That's all that matters.
That was a special moment for Juan Nieves and for Puerto Rico too. You know, that no-hitter was, I think that was the first pitcher in Puerto Rico to get a no-hitter in the big leagues.
First born and raised Puerto Rico player, because remember John Candelaria, I think in 77 or 79. I don't remember when John Candelaria threw his, but with him, you know, it's kind of like he was raised in the United States. He's still part of Puerto Rican descent, but Juanchi was kind of like our guy, you know what I mean? Yeah. Our baby, our hero at that moment. And it was too bad that he got hurt.
He was our guy too. He was a hell of a good pitcher for us.
Yeah.
Well,
if he don't got hurt,
no, just
tiempo corto, número 26, Robin John.
Go ahead, Baerga. I mean, go ahead with this Puerto Rico thing now.
No. Talk to us about the opportunity that you have to play in the league in Puerto Rico.
Well, it was so much fun. I got to say, though, I was a little homesick when I first went over there for about 2 days. And then we had the time of our life. I lived with a guy named Ed Farmer and Willis. Mike Willis, I think. 2 pitchers, which, you know, sometimes you got to live with pitchers. But that was the only downside, that I was rooming with 2 pitchers. And we lived in a high-rise apartment. What was it called? Isla Verde.
Isla Verde.
Yes.
Right on the beach. And we had, oh my gosh, we had so much fun. And you know who, Mickey Rivers, remember Mickey Rivers?
Yeah.
He was the center fielder on that team. And he taught me how to play roulette. He taught me how to play roulette down at one of the casinos.
Yes,
and I don't think I was old enough to be in there at the time, but they didn't know any different. And I was just hanging out with
Hey, you the campo corto de los cangrejeros.
De los cangrejeros.
Cangrejeros de Santurce.
Yeah. Who was your teammate?
We had so much fun down there. I enjoyed it a lot. Now, is the team still? Do they still have the Santurce Cangrejeros?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah, we still have Santurce.
We didn't mention, we talked about it before the show, but I'll say it on the show. Frank Robinson was the manager of the team.
Yes.
Sandy Alomar Sr., obviously.
Senior.
Sandy Sr. was the second baseman. Mike Cuellar was one of the pitchers. Orlando Cepeda.
Wow.
Played first base.
Wow, my dad knew how to put things together there.
Elrod Hendrick.
Good catcher.
Yes. I remember a couple of other American.
I
guys,
think
but
Don Juan Juan
Puerto
Benitez
Rican
was
guy.
there too, don't it?
Huh?
Juan Benitez was there.
Juan Benitez? No, I
Benitez
think he
estaba ahí,
came
papi.
after me. Or maybe he
Okay.
was our center fielder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My battery's
Well, he was
going,
like
but
you.
I
He
have
was young. He was young too. He was like you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What was his nickname? We had a nickname.
Titi Benitez.
Titi, that's it.
Titi.
Now I remember the nickname.
Titi
Yeah, he was our
Yeah,
center fielder, Titi.
Wow, so you guys have a good team right there. Orlando
did have a good
Cepeda,
team.
Hendrick, you guys, and Sandy
Yeah.
Aloma, there was a great player too. So it was something special. And Ruben Gomez was pitching.
Ruben Gomez was still there. Yes, he was pitching. He was like the.
What about
coach.
Terim Pizarro?
Juan Pizarro.
What? Yeah.
He was part of it.
Yes.
Gomez was the
Oh my
pitching
God, that was a
coach,
good
and
pitching
he
staff.
pitched when we
Yeah.
needed him.
Yeah, Gomez was the pitching coach and the starter, like my dad is saying back here. My dad said, the only bad thing with Ruben was he always listened to the race, horse track. So if there was a horse race going on, there goes Ruben. We can't pitch him.
He had paid his dues. He was allowed to at that time.
Wow.
As long as he was winning at the horse track and winning on the baseball field, it's all good.
Bueno, Baerga, yo creo que Baerga, I mean,
I think we went through everything, but I want to ask you something. That year that you win the MVP in '89,
yeah,
you don't make the All-Star game. How that happened?
No.
How that happened? I was reading about that.
I know.
Another thing that you have to tell me before we go, because I
don't-
read that. And let me.
Unfortunately, you'll probably have to ask Tony La Russa that.
Tony, I know. How you don't make the All-Star game and you win the MVP?
Hey,
so that means
know
you have
what?
an
I didn't
unbelievable.
hit enough home runs to make an all-star team out there. I
Wow,
guess.
wow, that was
But,
amazing. And another team in '78,
Okay.
you stopped playing. You went home, and because you were going to start, doing golf.
Well,
And then that's when they bring Paul Molitor. What happened there?
Well, it's not. That's sort of true. That's not all the facts. But let's backtrack a little bit. This is in spring training, not during the season.
Okay.
I come to spring training, and you remember if we go back to the beginning of the show, and I said I have this real love affair with motorcycles.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I fell off a motorcycle fairly close to the start of spring training.
Okay.
And
I don't know that.
in spring training, and I was trying to fake it. I wasn't healthy, but I wasn't telling anybody I wasn't healthy. Fortunately, when I was a rookie, I had an ankle problem so bad, tendonitis in one of my ankles. I had it so bad that, and in those days, they just gave you lots of cortisone shots and it didn't work. So they put a cast on. And so what happened was when I come to spring training and I'm limping a little bit and I just, my ankle's a little sore. I got that tendonitis coming back or whatever. I just didn't want to tell the truth. I was young player, scared to death to tell anybody what really happened. And so I got to the point where I just didn't know what to do. And I went AWOL. You know what AWOL? I didn't show up and didn't tell anybody. I was scared to tell anybody that I had hurt myself on a motorcycle. And what happened was the day before that, they had sent Paul Molitor to AAA because there wasn't room for him yet to make the roster. He hadn't made it to the big leagues yet. Well, when I didn't come to the field anymore, they called him back to play shortstop. And so I wasn't ready for opening day, and Paul Molitor started opening day at shortstop. I was ready about 10 days into the season when I came back. Well, Molitor was doing so well in spring, or the first 10, 12 game, whatever it was of the season, they couldn't send him back out. So I came in, they moved Paul over to second base. They moved Gantner, who was playing I think second at the time over to third, and Don Money became the DH or something like that. But it was really that was the start of Paul Molitor's career. And
I know.
Obviously, the rest is history. You know,
See?
some things in life are supposed to happen.
You did it to help Paul Molitor come up right away.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Take credit for that.
Oh my
God!
Robin,
you see,
you
had a plan, Delgado. He had a plan. He had a plan,
Yeah.
Delgado. He had a plan. Don't worry.
Robin, let me tell you something. On Friday, next Friday, you know who we're gonna have here? Paul Molitor. Paul Molitor. We're gonna have Paul Molitor.
You know, that's funny though. Ask him about that story because he said, "Oh no, that's BS." I made the team on my own. He said.
I know. I'm gonna tell you. Robin, what an honor is to have you today here to hear your story, and you are a true Hall of Famer, man. You show me how to play the game every day. You know, hustling, diving, hitting, fielding. It was nice to watch you every day, man. Thank you to teach
you
me how
guys
to
are
play the
very
game,
welcome.
man.
I will say one thing. I know there were better players, but I don't know if there were many guys that tried any harder. That was the one thing that I made sure. You know what? You're not always going to have a good day, but you can always try hard. And that was how I lived my life.
There you go, guys. Listen to this guy.
For not trying your best.
Yes.
Listen to a guy that got over 3,000 hits. Woo.
3,000 Palillito. Did you watch his numbers? He never struck out over 100 times. Never. One time, 94 times.
Yeah, you know what, Carlos?
The last part.
You know that the year I struck out 94 times, I wanted to quit.
I know. Listen.
I wanted to quit because I didn't think I could hit anymore. I struck out 94 times.
Wow. Listen to that, people. Listen to
that.
That's it. It was embarrassing to go over 100. No players that care about the game. Now the players, they don't care about the game. When you see guys getting almost 200 strikeout, what do you think about that, Robbie?
Well, I don't like to think about it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I mean, you're not gonna be able to play in this game right now, Robin. This era, it's gonna be a little tough for you. That's what people say because you don't know how to play it. You need to, you're supposed to swing the bat, and if you strike out, man. Don't worry about it.
I'm hoping the game changes and goes back to the way we played, and then I'll make my comeback.
I mean, Robin. Robin, I'm gonna tell you one thing before you leave.
Yes.
I mean, you're probably you're probably gonna be one of the fewest guys to ever reach 3,000 hits the way we're playing the game now. I mean, because the way we're playing with all this shift and all this stuff is going on, guys not put the ball in play. Yeah, I think it's going to be hard. I think Miguel Cabrera might actually be the last guy maybe to hit 3,000 hits. And that 3,000 hit mark is going to become like a 2,700. You get to 2,700 hits, you are a Hall of Famer.
Well, I agree with that as we see the game today. What I'm hoping for is the game will adjust back to what we really know baseball is, and that would be my wish for the game is that it comes back to the real game of baseball and not the free swinging, all strikeout, too many walks, all of that. It's just not as enjoyable as it used to be, and hopefully everybody will realize that, and it will work its way back into a much more competitive game of baseball, I hope.
All right, that sounds good, Robin. I mean, I think that's it. Thank you, Robin. I mean, God bless you and your whole entire family, and thank you for being here. El campo corto de los Cangrejeros de Santurce, número 26. Robin, you see, just like you said.
Hey, you guys do that pretty good, but you don't do it as good as I do.
No way. Hey, Robin, you've probably been waiting like 30 years or 40 just to say it again. So.
I know. I say it every night before I go to bed.
Hey, thank you, my man. We're going to go. We're gonna go to our commercial break. But Robin, thank you really from Baerga and me, and hopefully, we could catch with you down the road. have fun. We'll see what happens. All right, my man.
All right, sounds good. I had a lot of fun,
bless
you
you.
guys.